Good evening, viewers. We are back with another interesting session of Have Your Say Club Reading Ravens, where we're going to talk about books, books, and only books. Our today's guest doesn't need much introduction. By now, we already know about her love for book. When we all can count our reading counts, the book which we have on our fingertips, she has already crossed her reading count, which is 1500 plus book. Indeed, this is a hefty number. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Miss Sudha Wundra, a true bibliophile among us. Welcome, Sudha ma'am, to our show, Reading Ravens.
Thank you, Amita.
Ma'am, before we start our today's interaction, I would like to share with you all the moment I got to know about the book which we're going to talk about, I really got excited as just the name of the book was enough to refresh my memories that were associated with MBA. And you'll surprised to know that this book which we're going to talk about was one of the book recommended by our lecturer in my first MBA class. So ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, let's talk to our guest. What book are we going to talk about?
Well, when I was asked to pick a book, I thought a lot, and after a lot of debate, I decided on The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Ma'am, it's quite an old novel published in 1943. So what pushed you to read it?
It is an old novel, but it is still an all-time favorite with youngsters and people of my age. I mean, with everybody, in fact. And I was first introduced to this book by my friends in college. I read it in college. And at that point of time, it was fashionable to be carrying a copy of Fountainhead because it was considered that if you were reading Fountainhead, you were from the intelligentsia, you know. So that and a lot of good reviews for the book pushed me to read this book.
You truly said that, yeah, and even I'll confess, I bought many books just to flaunt. And today also, like the 100 of books which are lying in my cupboard, which I say shelf book, which I will not read in this entire life of mine, but it look good that when they are lying on the shelf. Ma'am, what is that one thing which interests you most in the book?
Well, firstly, it is a book which sets you thinking. I mean, you simply cannot just read it and leave it like a novel. You know, every page that you read makes you think. So that was one fascination with that novel. The other fascination was the leading character. You know, the character was shown to be so independent and full of his ideas. And he was ready to go to any lengths to adhere to those ideas. So that's what was attractive about this book.
And I've not mentioned the protagonist of this book, Mr. Howard Roark, is an architect, and ma'am is also a fashion designer. I'm an interior designer. I think that is also a connecting lines between
that came later. You know, I read the book in college. But when I started doing my interior decoration, he came into my mind. You know, I also felt that I'll also do my designs and I will not compromise. But the joy of thinking such thoughts was very soon compromised. There's not much that you can do all on your own. You have to work like a part of a team when you are in such a line.
And I think that this happens with most of the youngsters. Like before entering to the mainstream, their thoughts are unadulterated. And when they go into the mainstream, they realize that they have to behave accordingly, that they can't go with the vague or individual either. This is what I want and I'll work accordingly. So you, at times, the youngster face this problem, but later in their life, they realize that they have to work according to the people. So keeping their identity safe. So ma'am, the protagonist, Mr. Howard Roark, was a firm believer that individualism is superior to collectivism. What's your view on this?
Well, individualism definitely is a very redeeming quality, you know. If you have your individual traits, your individual ideas, innovative ideas, which you can implement in life, it definitely is something very, very great. But in today's life, today's materialistic life, you could say, it's very difficult to stick to these ideas. I mean, you cannot live life on ideas alone. You have to prove yourself. And to prove, you have to go and confirm with what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, very difficult thing to do.
Right,
that is the attraction of Howard Roark. I mean, his individualism attracts everybody when you are reading the book.
Great, ma'am. So apart from the protagonist, which is your other favorite character from the book?
Mostly the characterization is very good in the book. All the characters are very well defined. But the second character I would talk about is Dominic, the protagonist's girlfriend. I mean, she also supports all his ideas and she admires him for his vision. But in due course, she is disappointed because he is not keeping up with the world's idea of success. And so she leaves him and she joins his arch rival. She marries his arch rival. But in the due course, at the end of the novel, she gets married to the protagonist, and well, that's that.
Great, ma'am. So author has also used the term second-handers. What is that?
Well, the author has actually put the individualism or the egoism of the leading character on a pedestal, you know, and in comparison to him, she describes and sees everybody else as a second-hander, you know, who is living life second-hand, not doing anything new, not doing anything first-hand. So that's what she means by talking about second-handers.
Great, ma'am. So, ma'am, if I talk in today's context, people have most of us, like, we are second-handers. So are we because of the force or because of the choice? And is it helping us or benefiting us in any which ways?
I won't say it is helping us, but I would say that it has become a way of life. You know, because the world has become so materialistic, everything is being thought of in terms of money and success, name, fame. So people are scared, you know, to do something which does not conform to the norms of society, which is criticized by the masses. You know, do something out of the way is becoming more and more difficult. And you will find very few people are ready to face that struggle. You know, it's a huge struggle where your profession is at stake, where your entire life is at stake, your livelihood is at stake. So very few people nowadays have that strength of character.
True, ma'am. Like, acceptance of unconventional thought, people don't take it that easy. But the people who come out of that level, and I'm so sure they are all the bright face that we can see all around. Ma'am, it was not easy for the author to get this book published. So if you could just share the hardship the author has gone through, and at the last, it was a huge success this book has got. So if you could just share your view on it.
The author definitely struggled to get this book published because her earlier 2 novels had been failures. They had not been accepted, and so the publishing houses were not ready to publish this novel. but that's all I am aware of. But she was able to get it published and went on to become very successful, more so after her death.
Okay, ma'am. It is just for the viewers. A film is also made on this novel, which we are talking about, The Fountain Ahead. Ma'am, is there any lesson to be learned from this book?
Lesson in the sense, yes, we can take a lesson from Howard Rook on how to develop our own individuality, to have a vision, and how to go after them. Because he is shown to be a character who is not ready to be judged by anybody else. He goes by his own judgment of his own self. And he is ready to face anything. So the lesson one can take is of being more, you could say, innovative, of new ideas, and learning new things and sticking by them.
All right, ma'am, sir, as we are talking about the protagonist of the book, the Howard Rook, ma'am, he was more concerned about his individualism. His idea was just the individuality, and that could, the reason he has suffered throughout his life. So, ma'am, don't you think, like, if he has struck the balance between the individualism and the collectivism, he could perform in a much better way?
Yes, he could have. Because individualism is a good quality, but when it becomes egoism, it becomes harmful to the individual. And anything that you tend to do successfully, you can do it collectively. And if all of us become individualistic, then who is going to share the joy of what we are doing? When we do something together, we enjoy it more, we share the joy with each other, which is very important. So collectivism is, of course, a better quality if you look at it.
My next question is, ma'am, why would you recommend this book?
Well, I would recommend this book because of the different ideas. It in fact shows a part of life which is very different from ours. You know, the other side of the coin. And so we should read this book to get into the idea of what the other side thinks. And we should read it with a mind which is not biased, you know, which is ready to look at both sides and then make a judgment. So that's one very good reason for reading this book.
So when you pick the book, this is a right suggestion given by Sudha ma'am that you should be non-judgmental before reading any sort of book. And ma'am, like I have read in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, that interdependency leads to independency. So if we are interdependent and behave in an interdependent way, we could be a successful and real independent in a successful way. Ma'am, last not the least, what is the final message to our viewers?
The final message would be that we should retain our individuality, but we should be ready to flow with the tide and join hands with people so that we can work together towards a better and more successful life for everybody. You know, and for a small example, alone, if a footballer does not pass the ball to another player and keeps it to himself, he can never be successful, and he cannot get success for his team. So the same way in life, if we stick to ourselves and our goals and don't take the help of others or give help to others, we might not be as successful as we can be otherwise.
Truly said, ma'am, we all have to learn the art of balancing. So extremism doesn't work much these days. Thank you, Sudha ma'am, for being on our show, and thank you for sharing beautiful insight about the book. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Have Your Say, Reading Ravens. We'll be back another next week with another beautiful story, with another beautiful guest. Till then, stay home, stay safe, keep reading, keep inspiring. This is your host, Amita Shekhawat, signing off. Namaskar.
Thank you.